welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but he gets something. Yes, I'm going to be doing some more lefty cancellation, because why not? Why not burn these bridges now when I still have the time to build them? I could be using this time to build bridges and build coalitions, but I don't care. I build coalitions with people who I want to build coalitions with, but you'll see what I mean when I say, you just see what I mean. With that out of the way, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to start with some, small, softball. Not really important in the long run, but I guess technically kind of important. Georgia Dems select State Senator Nikema Williams to run for late John Lewis's congressional seat. The House of Representatives held a moment of silence for Congressman John Lewis. Meanwhile, Georgia Democrats have selected State Senator Nikema Williams to appear on the November ballot for the late Congressmember John Lewis's seat. Williams says that she's considered Congressmember Lewis to be a friend and mentor. In 2018, she was arrested in a peaceful protest at the state capitol, demanding that all votes be counted in the hotly contested gubernatorial election. She's expected to handily win the November seat against Republican Angela Stanton King, a reality TV show personality and author who Trump pardoned after she was convicted in her role in that car theft ring. Yeah, this is, just Democrat gets appointed for Democrat-leaning seat. She will win in November. This is just, I don't know specifically if Nikema will be a good, quote-unquote, choice. Because, some of the people who contested and ran against her was a Rose Caucus endorsed candidate who ran against John Lewis, and Vincent Ford, who is a, Georgia member of the State House who endorsed Bernie Sanders. So, there probably would have been better choices, but this is pretty much the idea. I don't know if she's going to be just keeping the seat warm. I highly doubt it. I'm going to be expecting Nikema will be like, I will carry on John Lewis's legacy, and then she'll be in the House for as long as he was. But I do expect maybe there's going to be a lefty challenger against him. Maybe that Rose Caucus guy is going to try again. But, we'll just have to wait and see. The next story is coming from Handsy Uncle Joseph. Biden just made a big promise to his Wall Street donors. After being loaded for his task force policies, the Democratic nominee promises wealthy contributors that changing corporate behavior is not going to require any legislation. I'm not proposing any. 2 weeks ago, Joe Biden rightly received praise for creating a policy task force that released a package of progressive legislation initiatives. The proposals augmented Biden's previous legislative initiatives that were meant to change corporate behavior. The task force were meant to unify the Democratic Party after the primary, and the recommendations were blared all over the world in glowing headlines, promising an era of progressive change under a Biden administration. Then, this past Monday, Biden told his Wall Street donors that actually he's not proposing any new legislation to rein in corporate power or change corporate behavior. This was reported exactly nowhere, even his campaign blasted it out of the National Press Corps. This is legitimately no surprise because, as Biden has stated previously, fundamentally, nothing will change. Remember, his entire candidacy is based on the idea, orange man bad, me good, vote me. That's literally all he is doing. And the thing is, for this election, the strategy didn't work for Hillary because, Hillary was Hillary, but this election it might actually work just because, with Trump before it was like, oh, he was this big wild card. We don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to do something cool? Is he going to do something bad? What is he going to do? We'll have to wait and see. Now we've seen, and things ain't exactly looking good for, Trump. Look at the polls. I know that the polls aren't exactly 100% accurate, but I'm just saying, the polls, they have to be at least somewhat true. They might be skewed a bit, they might be a bit closer, but, Biden's still probably, if COVID didn't happen, I would have said that Trump would have won easily, but now due to the COVID crisis, it just seems like COVID was probably the best thing that could have happened to Joe Biden. Because without COVID, Biden would have had to actually campaign, we would have seen a lot more of his flaws. Literally, the more you see of Joe, the more you realize you don't like him. But now that he's pretty much being sheltered off, it's probably the best thing that could have happened to him. Now, I mean, do I care? Not really. My horse in this race is Howie Hawkins. If Joe wins, it'll be slightly better than what we are now. That's the only thing I can say about it. But, slightly better ain't exactly going to get me to the polls. Thankfully, I'm going to do that dreaded mail-in ballot. No. Trump heard me. He thinks I'm committing electoral fraud. I mean, I'm using the ballot to vote for Howie Hawkins anyway, so maybe Trump would be fine with that. Although they might not like who's going to be under Howie Hawkins' name in the other, elections, so they're probably not going to like those ones. I mean, they won't like Howie either, but, it's not Joe. Okay, so the next story is coming from Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar's challenger is routing cash through mystery firms. Antoine Melton Moe's campaign to unseat progressive freshman Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota has paid nearly $1.2 million, 65% of his overall spending, to 3 anonymous companies, a move that circumvents traditional campaign finance disclosure standards. Melton Moe's findings last week with the Federal Election Commission list payments of almost $1.1 million to WCPA in June for media buys and direct mail, and lists nearly $223,000 owed to the firm. It is not entirely clear what company they're paying. None of the records on open corporates appear to be a match. A company with a similar name, WPCA LLC, was registered in Delaware on May 29th. Melton Moe's spokesperson did not respond to multiple emails from TMI to seek information about the payments. The DCCC has threatened to punish vendors who work for candidates who run primary challenges against Democrats. Melton Moe's financial maneuver keeps hitting the vendors who are working for his campaign against Omar, a first-term Democratic incumbent. Do you know who else is helping this person try to unseat Ilhan Omar? A member of the Joe Biden campaign. A member of Joe Biden's Jewish outreach is trying to unseat Ilhan Omar. Gee, I wonder why that he would want to do this so much. We may have to be doing some switching around because, people have been saying that Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, they seem to be having slightly harder primary challenges than, AOC. Like, these campaigns, they're really, and Ilhan's getting, a shit ton of primary opponents. She only has one primary opponent in former Congresswoman Brenda Jones, but Ilhan's got 4 primary opponents. Antoine, a former Green Party candidate named Les Lester, and the only other important one is John Mason, who was the husband of someone that I endorsed for Minnesota Senate race, but he's not that good. He's running as an Obama Democrat. That's a bad sign. He's running extensively on the fact that he's gay. It's a bit strange. I mean, it's not strange to run on being gay. That's just, anti-identity politics 101. But John Mason, he's gotten himself in a little bit of a pickle based on the way he's been describing certain elements of Ilhan Omar. Like, for example, one of the reasons why he's running against her is because, he's saying, oh, we need a uniter. Ilhan's not a uniter. And then another thing people are, that made some people go, that's weird. But there's another reason. Here's one thing that he stated. He's just been saying some weird things on Twitter. Here's one. I primary Ilhan Omar. At the end of the day, the positive change we seek is in the hands of the SCOTUS. SCOTUS is 5-4 now. If Trump's reelected, it'll be 6-3. Game over. One way to make it harder for Trump to win re-election. Mason defeats Omar August 11th. Okay, what? See, how do you help Trump not win re-election, buddy? I don't get it. You have literally no reason to help him win the election at all. Ilhan doesn't either. Well, I mean, we're gonna find out that he thinks that there's a big reason why she's gonna help him get reelected. Here's another one. I'm primary Ilhan Omar because we must remember the post-nightclub tragedy was a homophobic hate crime and terrorist act, not simply gun violence. Like, literally, him and his husband, Nick Leonard, they got mad because Ilhan Omar called the post-nightclub shooting gun violence. Because it was. Yes, it was also a terrorist act. Yes, it was also homophobic, but you need to remember, it's also gun violence. I mean, and here's the thing. It's literally, this is like this thing that Republicans do to Muslims all the time. Every time there's a Muslim terrorist thing, they always go to the Muslim and be like, what is your thoughts on this? Do you disavow this? Come on, why don't you disavow this? Just disavow this. Why are you not saying terrorist attack? What are you trying to say? You defending him? That's what they do. And here's another thing. John Mason, I'm primary Ilhan Omar because Donald Trump wants to win Minnesota so bad he can taste it. He only lost Minnesota by 1% last time. In 2016, he didn't have an Omar to help him rally his base into a frenzy. He does this time, though, unless Mason defeats Omar August 11th. Okay. You won't... Here's exactly what he said. He has literally stated the reason he wants to beat Ilhan Omar is because he thinks that Ilhan Omar, as a Muslim woman who prominently wears a hijab, is going to help Trump win re-election due to her mere existence in Congress. Wow, Jason. You made me hate you and your husband. Like, I literally hate both of them now. Fuck them. Oh, and Antoine too, but Antoine, he's just a stupid corporatist. But John Mason, I just like shitting on John Mason because why would I want to shit on him? Next story is coming from our dear old boy, Donnie Trump. Trump cancels GOP convention plans in Jacksonville. President Trump said Thursday that he would cancel the GOP convention events in Jacksonville, Florida in August, saying that it wasn't the right time due to the coronavirus. I told my team it's time to cancel the Jacksonville component of the GOP convention. I'll still do a convention speech in a different form, but we won't do a big crowded convention per se. It's just not the right time to do that. He then went on to say that he would do some form of campaign event in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like, something there, but he wasn't going to do like a full-fledged convention like he wanted to do for so long. Like, this is the thing. People, like, immediately after this news happened, they immediately got exonerated for Roy Cooper, because Roy Cooper, he was like, look, we can't do a convention in North Carolina, like a full-scale presidential convention, because, we're in the middle of the COVID pandemic. This is terrible. We can't do a large-scale convention. But Trump was being adamant, like, no, we need to do a large-scale convention. We need to do this large-scale convention, nah. And now he's canceling the convention. Because Trump finally, at this point, has to try and at least somewhat take the COVID crisis seriously. Okay, so the next story is President Trump sending hundreds of federal agents to Chicago as part of anti-violence effort. Mayor Lightfoot says focus will not be on protesters. Governor J.B. Pritzker welcomes legitimate federal forces. President Donald Trump announces a new federal anti-crime initiative Wednesday afternoon. The initiative is aimed at combating violence in American cities, including expanding into federal law enforcement into presence in Chicago. There will be hundreds of federal agents sent to Chicago to fight crime a day after 15 were shot outside a funeral home. Trump spent much of his help on his way announcement on Wednesday, zeroing in on Chicago crime statistics, rattling off death tolls, and killing records set and broken. Although not calling out Chicago leaders by name, he blamed deep, deadly police policies and deadly politicians as a result of the out-of-control crime in numerous U.S. cities. Perhaps no citizens have suffered more than the messes of violent crime than the wonderful people of Chicago, a city I know very well. At least 414 people have been murdered in the city this year, a roughly 50% increase over last year. Okay, so, and J.B. Pritzker and Lloyd Lightfoot have said, okie dokie. These two, they're just saying, okie dokie, buddy, but don't hurt the protesters. You don't understand me, Donald? Do not hurt the protesters. And Donald Trump's like, okie dokie. This is literally stupid. Lori, you're supposed to be the anti-Chicago machine. You're literally going to just let the police just waltz in, the federal police. They're going to do the same thing they did in Portland, and she's going to be like, no, I said that Donald Trump he does not give a fuck, Lori. He's the president. He's in charge. You're nothing. You're nothing, Lori. Well, I mean, scratch that. She is something. She's a cop. She's the Chicago machine now. You know, everybody was looking at Lori Lightfoot for hope and change, but, guess not. She's just terrible. Okay, so, screw Lori. Let's move on to some more federal policies. Something just happened recently. The NDAA is back for 2021. But this time, there were some ambitious things that were proposed. The first thing was an amendment by Mark Buchanan and Bernie Sanders, an amendment to cut 10% of the Pentagon budget. It's an interesting development. Both of these amendments massively failed. In fact, here's how much they failed by. 93 people voted yes on this House amendment. You know how many people voted yes for the Democratic, for the Bernie Sanders amendment? 23. Here are all the people who voted good in the Senate. Baldwin, Blumenthal, Booker, Cantwell, Cardin, Casey, Durbin, Gillibrand, Hirano, Klobuchar, Leahy, Markey, Merkley, Murphy, Murray, Sanders, Schatz, Schumer, Smith, Udall, Van Hollen, Warren, and Wyden. Those are the senators that made the right choice. Now let's check the representatives that made the right choice. Amash, Berrigan, Bass, Betty, Blumenauer, Bonmicki, Cardenas, Castor, Castro, Chu, Clark, Clay, Cleaver, Cohen, Davis, DeFazio, DeSoliner, Dingle, Doiget, Doyle, Eschew, Espelliot, Evans, Frankel, Fudge, Gabbard, Garcia, Gomez, Green, Grijalva, Hastings, Hayes, Heck, Huffman, Jackson Lee, Schiappo, Jeffries, Johnson, Keating, Kelly, Kennedy, Kana, Kidley, Lee, Levin, Liu, Lofgren, Lowenthal, Lujan, Lynch, Maloney, Matsui, McGovern, McNerney, Meeks, Meng, Mifume, Moore, Nadler, Napolito, Neil, Negus, Ocasio-Cortez, Omar, Pallone, Payne, Pingree, Pocan, Porter, Presley, Raskin, Rush, Sanchez, Sarbanes, Strachowski, Schiff, Serrano, Sherman, Spear, Tincano, Thompson, Tlaib, Tonko, Tarhan, Vargas, Velasquez, Waters, Watson-Coleman, Welch, Wilson, and Yarmouth. Okay, that was a big amendment. That was a very big amendment. Because it was very, that amendment literally was cut the Pentagon budget by 10%. That's a pretty big thing. There was also another amendment that was proposed by Ilhan Omar. This amendment would effectively withdraw all troops from Afghanistan. This amendment also failed, with only 129 people voting yes on this. Here they are: Adams, Mosh, Berrigan, Bass, Betty, Blumenauer, Blunt, Bonmici, Boyle, Brooks, Carson, Castor, Castro, Chu, Sicily, Clark, Clay, Cleaver, Cohen, Connolly, Carrera, Courtney, Davis, Dean, DeFazio, Diggett, Delario, Delbane, DeSaliner, Dooch, Dingle, Doiget, Doyle, Engel, Eschew, Sfaliat, Evans, Fudge, Gabbard, Garcia, Gomez, Green, Grijalva, Hastings, Hayes, Heck, Higgins, Himes, Huffman, Jackson Lee, Jayapol, Jeffries, Johnson, Keating, Kelly, Kennedy, Kana, Kidley, Kilmer, Krishnamurthy, Larson, Lawrence, Lawson, Lee, Levin, Liu, Lofgren, Lowenwell, Luan, Lynch, Maloney, Massey, Matsui, McCollum, McGovern, McNeary, Meeks, Mang, Mifumi, Moore, Nadler, Napolito, Neal, Naguso, Ocasio-Cortez, Omar, Pallone, Pasquale, Payne, Pingree, Pocan, Presley, Quigley, Raskin, Richmond, Rose, Ruiz, Rush, Ryan, Sanchez, Sarbanes, Shanlon, Shatowski, Schiff, Scott, Serrano, Sherman, Ceres, Smith, Swalwell, Takano, Thompson, Titus, Tlaib, Tonko, Trahan, Vargas, Vesey, Velasquez, Vilosky, Waters, Watson, Coleman, Welch, Wilson, Yarmouth. So yeah, as you can see, there were a lot of Democrats who did not vote for this resolution. Screw them. They're terrible. They're literally all terrible. We've been in Afghanistan for longer than I've been alive. It's time to do what you want to do when you don't want to get a girl pregnant. Pull out. Pull out, bro. Pull out. Pull out game, be strong. You always just pull out game, don't be strong, though. We've been getting a ton of Middle Eastern girls pregnant, boy. That's one way to describe our foreign interventions. You know, describe them as women we're trying to sleep with. But, you know, we don't know about pull-out game. So yeah, these adventures regime change wars have gone on long enough. Time to pull out. Okay, so now let's move on to the smaller candidate of the day, Serene Adelinu, the healer-in-chief. I believe she ran for the Libertarian Party, you know, presidential nomination, but she lost. Okay, so here's her platforms. The NAP, the non-aggression principle, that's just average libertarian stuff. She believes the government should be run lean and efficiently. The many duties the government have taken would be performed quicker, more effectively, and more affordably by the private sector. Let's see, healthcare. She at least call it healthcare? Government is not should not force certain ways of attaining health over another. You know, she's basically running a huge libertarian campaign, but trying to use Marianne Williams' language of like, I want to be a healer and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, pretty bad. Speaking of pretty bad, now we're on to the main topic of this video. My thoughts on our good old boy, Grumpy Birdie Sanders. Who is Grumpy Birdie Sanders, you may ask? He defines himself, or she, I don't know. It can be a girl. I assume it's a boy, because, you know, they use Grumpy Birdie Sanders, so, you know, I think of it as a boy. I'm going to use male pronouns for this, if Grumpy Birdie Sanders is not a boy, you know. Oh well. I guess I should use they. I'll just use they, why not? A grumpy bird of the independent left. That's who they are. What does that mean? Well, they mostly post to Twitter and, you know, retweet progressive, you know, people, follow progressive people. They've gotten a bit of a following, you know. They have 11.6k followers. They're only following 8,177 people. I used to be one of those people, but, not anymore. That was a long time ago, but, just whatever. The thing about Grumpy Birdie Sanders is you may recognize that I put their picture in one of my older thumbnails, that being the Tulsi v. Warren people, where I pretty much summed up the conclusion about the Tulsi and Warren people as they're the same person, but they idealize one person, like they idealize one of these women, and not the other. And unlike most people, Grumpy did not leave that thing. Grumpy still idealizes Tulsi Gabbard to the point where they criticize Bernie so much and praise Tulsi so much that at this point I should just suggest to them, just change your name to Tulsi Gabbard and be done with it. You clearly like Tulsi more, so you clearly like Tulsi more. Look at me and you, and here's the thing, they give these super, it's like the same thing, like the purist takes. Like, they retweet and, support people like Slow News Day. The quote-unquote purists of the left. They're so purist that they will hate Bernie Sanders for slightly doing something that goes against their so-called leftist values. Like this whole idea of, he endorsed Tulsi, he endorsed whoever. He actually does still defend that whole thing about Tulsi endorsing Biden. He's like, well, Bernie jumped out 2 weeks later, so she called Bernie. Okay, but that's not true though. Tulsi literally had to confirm that wasn't the case. Oh yeah, and he loves and Grumpy loves Nico House and Nico House and Jimmy Dore. He loves them. I keep saying he because, Grumpy Birdie Sanders, you don't necessarily think women when you think that. Let's just assume Grumpy Birdie Sanders is a guy and be done with it. Here's one tweet. What Tulsi Gabbard showed you is that standing up for what you believe in by endorsing Biden and watering down Medicare for all and on your campaign platform. Grumpy quote tweeted and said, it's almost like Bernie never endorsed and campaigned for Biden and told Tulsi over the phone not to endorse him because he's going to drop out and also make concessions on healthcare with the task force. You are literally proving the point of my tweet that you are replying to. And the tweet was apparently, what the Tulsi Gabbard campaign showed was how many people are brainwashed into sheep by MSNBC and indie media who are MSNBC light. No. No. You see, when she goes against Medicare for all and then proposes her own healthcare plan, called Single Payer Plus, it's kind of walking away from the progressive ideals, and just no Medicare for all, no deal. That's the rules with the progressivism. That should be the rules, but I guess Grumpy forgot. But what do you expect Grumpy Birdie Sanders to understand anything? He's a loon. But it doesn't really look like a loon. Looks more like a blue jay. Not even a blue jay. But, doesn't matter. The bird has glasses and curly hair. And like I said, he loves Tulsi Gabbard. But, much like these Jimmy Dore types do, AOC is evil and bad. Here's a tweet from 13 hours ago. Sorry this may piss people off, but more and more AOC is turning into the next Barack Obama. Citation? Hello, can you give me a citation for that? It's one weird thing. A lot of lefties, I don't know why, but they keep saying, oh, I see AOC turning into the next Barack Obama. Proof? I've seen her record. She's fine. She's lefty. I don't see what everybody's pointing at. I don't see it. And here's another one. Well, I wish AOC also annoyed Democrats as much as she does the GOP. And it points to, the Ted Yoho incident where he called AOC a fucking bitch. Like he's calling AOC like an opportunist and a careerist. What? How? Where? Where are you getting this from? In her first week of Congress, she stood in Nancy Pelosi's office and protested with the Sunrise Movement people. Like, they're pointing at, I don't know, the COVID votes, I guess, is the biggest contention, I guess. But, we're in the middle of a pandemic. AOC is not going to choose now and then to be the martyr. They would have just used it to paint us, I guess. They'll do what they did to Thomas Massey. When Thomas Massey protested the COVID votes, they painted him as this crazy, stupid person that didn't want to help people. And that's what they were going to do to AOC and Ilhan and Ro Khanna and all these people if they would do it. The reason why they criticize AOC is because it's easier to complain. It's easier to criticize and complain about the people in power, but not actually give them credit for what they do right. And again, he loves Slow News Day, so he retweets a Slow News Day, mentioned on the show. If you look at AOC's actual voting record, it's neo-liberal, but her relic is socialist. Doubt. This is the guy who hates Bernie Sanders, so I literally don't trust anything he says on politics. He said Adam Kokesh was better than Bernie Sanders. The guy who wants to end the federal government. And finito. The guy who says chemtrails are real. The nasty evil chemtrails. Seriously. I don't trust that guy with serious political content. I trust that guy as much as I trust David Rold as a serious political candidate. Okay, I was reading through one of his tweets and he said something really stupid. Here's one thing he says. He retweeted a Bernie Sanders thing about ending the wars and such. And he said, Bernie is basically repeating Tulsi Gabbard's message here. She was the only one throughout the entire Democrat primary, consistently saying over and over and over that we must end the wars and reinvest the money into our communities for living wage, single-payer healthcare, etc. Wait, Bernie did that in 2016. I don't... Even the things Bernie said, it was apparently Tulsi Gabbard's message, apparently. And we'll give him one thing. The Green Party stuff, he didn't let himself get co-opted by the Jesse people. I'll give him credit on that. Jesse said he wasn't running, and Birdie took it at face value and was like, yeah, Jesse's not running. The end, credit over. The end, no more. Though he is trying to get Jesse to, join with Ford People's Party? What? Stupid? But meh. One word I guess I definitely would describe Grumpy is purist. He's always been a purist. Even when I interacted with him, he was always a purist. I don't know. He's older, and he's got more life experience. So I guess he's been tired of the dragging and the blah blah blah. But he gets too idealistic. One thing he said is if AOC, Jayapal Pekan, Ilhan, Tlaib, Gabbard, Ro Khanna, Ayanna Pressley, and Raul Galva are serious about opposing the powers, they would all change their party affiliations to independent green like Justin Amash did and join libertarians. Look, I get it. That would be cool. That would be pretty cool. That'd be cool. Cool if them and Chewy and I don't know, Jonah Goose, Tchaikovsky, DeSaliner, I don't know, Peter Welch, and they all became a national progressive bloc and stuff. They could do that now with the progressive caucus. That is one thing that I do criticize AOC for, the idea of the whole idea that she did when she originally entered Congress was that she wanted to make a left progressive caucus, an explicitly Dem-Soc caucus. That would be that would form a progressive bloc to block unprogressive legislation and push for good progressive legislation. I would be down with that. That would be cool. And I wish AOC actually did form that Justice Dem caucus. That would be lit. But, you know, it gotta be realistic. You know what would happen if all of those Congress people became Greens tomorrow? You know what would happen? Democrats would go, we originally were supposed to try and flip 100 seats. Now we have to flip 105. Like, you see, without a viable, like, especially considering the Greens, they don't have, like, do you think they have the momentum or, like, the backings to, like, have a, to, like, all of a sudden seat, like, 12 Congress people? No. We barely have the, like, funding and stuff to, like, put normal people in. Like, to put people, to get one person in elected office. Or even just run a presidential candidate. Like, this is all they have. They don't have, like, the momentum. They don't have the backbone. I want to build that backbone. But unfortunately, they don't have that backbone just immediately. It would be cool if they did, but realistically, it's a bad idea. And yes, it would be cool if Bernie and all these people left to form, like, the People's Party. That would be lit. That would be cool. I would love that. I would be fully behind that. But you gotta be a bit realistic. These guys, they have to work in the position that they have. They don't have that position. They can try, but it could just fall like it has always happened. I'm not saying don't vote for third party. Don't try to build a viable third party. I'm for that. But you also have to understand that for these guys, it's almost impossible to do it. Some of these guys, they can barely hold their seats if they try in their current state. Don't you think it would be like a million times harder if in all of a sudden a deep blue state, all of a sudden these guys aren't blue anymore? I guarantee you a good majority of the people in these districts, they're just going to be like, oh, who's Democrat? Ilhan? Yes. Antoine? Yes. They don't care. They'll just vote for whoever they want. They'll vote for the Dem. That's all they care about. I do agree on one thing. I do agree that they need to be a bit more of a bloc. That is true. If I were a member of Congress, I would try to get that left bloc done. And AOC, she should have tried. But maybe she realized, like, a true left bloc couldn't happen yet. And, like, maybe she's waiting for, like, the squad to expand. You know, like, 3 people are expanding. No. There's, like, 4 new members of the squad that are going to be added. Monder Jones, Teresa Lagar, Marie Newman, Jamal Bowman. They're all going to be in. The squad grows. And the bigger they grow, the more the progressive caucus can be more left. And that's a good thing. Maybe she's trying to get, like, more of a left wing to be solidified in the Dem Party before she can officially move forward with her plans. You know, maybe she thought, like, the whole progressive caucus was going to be her friends going in, but then she found out, I don't know. Like, you know, that's her job. She's a legislator. She has to legislate. That's her primary job, being a legislator. Draft bills. And, you know, any Congress that doesn't like her, you know, it's gonna be a bad idea. I guess I honestly didn't have that much to talk about because I'm kind of strapped on talking points. I guess I'll say one more thing. He apparently is one of those people who thinks, like, you know, Trump and Biden are equal when, you know, let's just be slightly realistic. Trump is slightly worse. That doesn't mean you should vote for Biden. You know, I say vote for Henry Hawkins. But, you know, just be realistic. Donald Trump is slightly worse. So, yeah. Grumpy Birdie Sanders, he's a purist. I'll say that. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video when it comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or join my Discord, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.